child. We're here on a permanency hearing. Let's see, Mr. Alvey's still trying to connect. We got to have him here. Okay, Mr. Alvey's now with us. All right, Mr. Alvey's with us for the department. Ms. Ledbetter is with us representing CASA. Mr. Turner is with us representing the child. Mr. Adams is with us representing the father, Mr. Calici, who is incarcerated. And Ms. Kincaid is with us representing the mother, Ms. Pastor, who is not with us. Ms. Kincaid, were you expecting your client?
I expect that she's at school today, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, she's here. She just came. Okay, we'll make this very, very short. Yes, Mr. Browse.
Okay, Judge. And it's not a problem for me to interpret because I'm here for the court. I just wanted to know if it's a long hearing, if I could do the pretrial first. But if it's a short hearing, then this is probably the way to go.
Mr. Rowley?
It's going to be short, Judge.
Very short?
Yes.
Okay.
Judge, I agree. I think that things are going well.
Okay, let's just try to do it as quickly as we can. Okay, so
thank you.
Ms. Prowse, I'll turn on the interpretation feature, and do you need to tell Ms. Pastor to choose Spanish?
Yes. So
Thank you, Your Honor. I would call Jaleesa Bird or Bird.
Okay.
And where is she currently placed?
She's in a foster home in Lubbock, Texas.
And is that placement meeting all of Kay's needs at this time?
Yes, they are.
Is she making all of her medical appointments?
Yes. She had one in January, and she's currently meeting all her milestones and doing well.
And are there any special interests or special needs of this child that we need to make the court aware of today?
No, not at this time.
Her mother is Senada Calici Pastor.
That's correct.
And Senada is also she was in the care of the department until she turned 18.
That's correct.
And she is still currently in extended care and taking advantage of department services.
Yes, that's correct.
And is she working services at this time?
Yes, she is. She's taking parenting classes, going to school, taking English classes as well. So yes, she's working her services.
Anything specifically that she is not taking advantage of that we need to remind her to do so today?
Not at this time.
And where is she currently living?
She's at the Children's Home of Lubbock in Lubbock, Texas, and in the extended care.
And how often is she able to visit with Kay?
At the beginning in December, a foster parent was covering visits weekly. We did add a worker to start covering those visits. So they will continue with weekly visits I believe it's at Troll. They change different places. But yes, weekly visits.
So she's getting weekly in-person, face-to-face visits with her child. You muted it.
Sorry, I had a doctor. Yes, that's correct.
And how is she doing with those visits? Are those visits going well?
Yes, they are going well. I did get a report recently that the visits are going well. Kay interacts well, and so does Zenaida with Kay.
So what is the plan at this time for possible reunification between Kay and Zenaida?
For Zenaida to continue working her services and finishing her services, and then looking into possible some type of placement where Zenaida and Kay can be placed together once we get those services completed.
In the meantime, though, it would be contrary to Kay's general welfare to return her to Zenaida at this time.
At this time, yes.
Now, Isaiah is the child's father or alleged father.
That's correct.
And is he currently incarcerated in the Dallam County Jail?
The last knowledge we had was he was in the Dallam County Jail. I did call to get more information. They've heard of his name, but he is not currently there. I did a few social media checks, internet checks. I cannot find where where parent is. So I'm unsure at this time.
Let me interrupt real quick, Mr. Albee. Two things. First of all, you said he's alleged. He's not. I adjudicated him at our last hearing.
Okay.
And then secondly, Ms. Bird, did you know my report says that Mr. Calici, the father, had an ICE hold on him. So if he was going to be released from the county jail, he'd probably end up somewhere in the federal system. Were you aware of his ICE hold?
Yes, I was aware of his ICE hold. And when I called the Dallam County, they usually have records of him being either deported or sent somewhere else. But they, for some reason, could not find records on him.
Okay, it's been my experience. That's not the first time that this has happened. So excuse me for interrupting, Mr. Albee. You can proceed.
Thank you.
And that was the next question I was going to ask about the ICE hold, Your Honor. So, but because we don't know for sure where he's at, it would be contrary to Kay's general welfare to return her to him at this time.
That's correct.
And it would be unsafe for Kay at her young age to return her to either parent today.
Yes.
So you're asking the court to continue the department as temporary managing conservator of this child, and that we continue working on possible reunification with mom.
Yes.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Kincaid.
Thank you, Your Honor. Has Senada been cooperative with the department?
Yes, she has. I have
has she-
monthly visits with her.
Okay, and has she stayed in contact with you?
Yes, she has.
Okay, so right now, I mean, I know we've had some language barrier issues so far as her services, but she's been willing and ready to work any of those. Is that fair to say?
That is fair. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass witness.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Turner.
Briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Bird, how long are the weekly visits between Kay and Senada?
Right now, they're about an hour long. They did have one a few weeks prior that was 3 hours long. So right now they're an hour long.
And Senada has never really cared for or kept Kay by herself for any extended period of time, correct?
That's correct.
And so I'm assuming the department will have a plan to kind of work Senada slowly into where she's taking care of Kay longer and longer, and then overnight before there is a placement.
That's correct.
Okay. And otherwise, Kay is doing well where she's placed?
Yes, she is. She's walking, babbling, talking. So she's doing really well.
No health concerns or anything like that that the court needs to be made aware of?
No, not at this time. She's eating foods and textures. And I know that was a issue previously, but she's doing really well eating and just overall in her placement.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Albee, anything further from the department?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
All right, Ms. Kincaid, any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Mr. Adams?
No witnesses, Your Honor. Just for the court's information, I have not been able to find Mr. Rails.
Okay. All right. Mr. Turner, any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Turner, recommendations?
I would recommend that the department be maintained as the conservator and that placement be continued.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ledbetter, Casa, have anything to add?
Nothing to add, Your Honor. We're in agreement with that.
Okay. Excuse me. All right, then I will continue department's temporary managing conservator, continue case current placement. I will set a final in this case for May 29th, 2024. That will be by Zoom, like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance to see exactly what time that hearing will take place. Because mother's not been taking care of Kay by herself, I will note that this case has not been extended. If it becomes necessary to extend to work the mother and child back together safely, then we can certainly take a look at that. So, okay, that will conclude this hearing. We'll stand in recess. For those of you involved, I'll be back at 9:30 to call a couple of...
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm getting ready to call 2 Sherman County related cases. That's on the marquee. Mr. Albee, let me ask you, we set both these for 9:30. We're still looking for Mr. Pirtle. Would it be easier for y'all to, I'll call them both, but then take them one at a time?
Yes, Your Honor. At this point in time, they're really not related any longer.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it would be easier to do them separate anyway.
Okay, and then we'll make a note next time we have hearings, we won't set them at the same time. So in that case, Mr. Albee is with us for the department. Ms. Ledbetter's with us for CASA. Mr. Barfield's notified me he's not going to be present. He's just basically saying status quo. Ms. Christie's with us representing the father, Mr. Martinez, who is with us, and Ms. Grant is with us representing the mother, Ms. Macias, who is with us. So let's go ahead and proceed in that case while we look for Mr. Purtle.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would call Ms. Tori Cook, and Jazelle is currently placed or living where?
She is placed with her father in Dallas, Texas.
And that is Alvarado Martinez.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Martinez has had the child since the department took possession of the child.
She was placed with paternal grandparents here in Dumas, Texas, and then yes, we moved her in June of 2023 to dad.
And is Mr. Martinez making sure that Jazelle is meeting all of her needs and that she's going to all of her mental health, and counseling appointments?
Yes, he is.
And are there any special needs or anything of interest that we need to talk about about Jazelle with the court today?
No, they're not.
Mr. Martinez was asked to work some services. Has he begun working his services?
Yes, there's been a little delay on the family counseling due to insurance changes with their provider, but we are working on setting that back up.
Anything that needs to be amended or changed concerning the services that Mr. Martinez is working at this time?
No, sir.
Child's mother is Michaela Macias,
Yes.
and Miss Macias was also ordered to work services. Has she begun working the services that she was ordered to work?
Yes, sir, and she's completed all of her services.
Are there any other services that we need to recommend that the court order at this time?
No, sir.
Child and Miss Macias have had a disconnect and are not in a relationship where it would be safe to return the child home to mom at this time?
Yes, they did actually have a virtual visit on March 2nd. It went very well. And I believe with more visitation and hopefully an in-person visit that it would be time for her to return home, but we would need more visits.
And in fact, they really haven't visited much due to Jazelle's wishes since June when she moved to Dallas.
Correct.
And how often is Miss Macias allowed to have contact with Jazelle?
She's allowed to have contact. We were hoping bi-weekly, virtually, and then hopefully monthly in person. And there's no change in that. It was just up to Jazelle and the therapist at that point. And like I said, we did have one virtual, and it was Jazelle's decision on March 2nd.
And do you know if there's another one scheduled?
Not at this time.
Okay. But in the meantime, it's safe for Jazelle to remain in her father's care.
Yes, sir.
And it would be contrary to her general welfare to be returned immediately to Miss Macias at this time.
Yes, sir.
So you're asking the court to continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and that we continue placement of the child with father.
Yes, sir.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. For the record, Ms. Macias was in the waiting room and I thought she connected, but I do not see her now, and I've been watching the waiting room. She's not come back into the waiting room. So, okay, Ms. Grant, questions?
Ms. Cook, did the parents also complete a co-parenting class and meetings with Stephen Jennings?
Yes, ma'am. They have completed 2 at this point.
And after those 2, isn't it correct that Mr. Jennings stated that they were co-parenting well and that no more meetings would be necessary at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
And so do you consider that service complete for both parents?
I do. Excuse me.
And the visitation that the mother had with Jazelle was at her request and lasted for 1 hour. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so should Jazelle request another, then we'll go forward at that time with the schedule per Jazelle's agreement, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the parents are working better together than they have been before. Would you agree with me?
I would.
And no more services are requested at this time for either parent regarding co-parenting.
No, ma'am.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Thank you, Ms. Christie.
Ms. Cook, did you monitor the visit between Jazelle and her mom?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
I'll pass the witness.
All right. Mr. Barfield, as I said, is not here. He's just recommending the department remain temporary managing conservator placement with father continue. Okay, Mr. Albee, did you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
Thank you. Ms. Grant, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
It looks like Ms. Macias has joined us now too. So, okay, Ms. Christie, any witnesses?
Your Honor, I'll call my client, Alvaro Martinez.
Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, I'm just going to jump right on the path right here. You are considering a move to Kansas. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
In fact, you have secured a job there and you're in the process of securing housing there. Is that correct?
Correct.
Where in Kansas are you planning on moving?
Arkansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay, so this place in Kansas, is it the same distance from Miss Macias as your place in Dallas?
Yes, ma'am. I actually believe it's a little less.
Okay, and so it would not hinder I mean, you already live 6 hours apart, and it's not going to be any farther for Miss Macias for you guys to arrange visitation in person when that time comes. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Now you certainly want to go with the department's blessing, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, Jazelle is doing well in your home. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And she did have a virtual visit with her mom. Is that right?
Yes.
And that was what Jazelle wanted. She said that she was ready to talk to her mom. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, there was a little bit of a glitch with the visit. Can you tell us briefly what that was?
So Jazelle talked
Your
to
Honor,
her
I would
mom.
object to hearsay unless he was observing the visit.
Did you see the visit, Mr. Martinez?
I sure did.
Okay, then you can answer the question.
Jazelle spoke with her mother briefly and then was joined on camera with her grandmother, then following her aunt, Sylvia, and her cousin Esvin. And then later her Aunt April arrived towards the end of the call.
Okay, so you just wanted, and the visit went well for Jazelle. She was happy when she got off because she did get to talk to her mom. Is that right?
Yes, she was happy speaking to mom.
But did you find it odd that her whole family was there? And did you think that that was a violation of the rules?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Okay, so will Jazelle finish her school year in Kansas, or is she going to be able to finish up before y'all go?
No, ma'am. She'll finish in Kansas.
All right, and you've checked out the school and made arrangements and all that?
I wanted to wait for us to get the department's blessing before we made any moves as far as her education is concerned.
Perfect. All right, I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Anyone have further questions for Mr. Martinez? I'm sorry, I didn't even ask Mr. Albee.
Mr. Martinez, just to make it clear, you have not moved at this point in time. You're waiting for this hearing.
Yes, sir. We're still residing in Texas.
But you have a job in Kansas and you've researched where Jazelle would be moving.
Yes.
And have you talked with Jazelle about the move?
Yes.
And what is her attitude about the move?
She's excited for it.
And you would still make sure that Miss Macias has access as approved by the department.
Yes, sir.
And if there are any additional services that you need to work for the department on behalf of Jazelle, you would do that.
Yes, sir.
You understand that if there are services and you move to Kansas, you would probably have to pay for those out of your own pocket.
Yes, sir. That's fine.
All right. I'll pass it, Sean.
Ms. Grant?
Mr. Martinez, have you discussed the move with Michaela Macias?
No, ma'am.
Did you bring it up in the co-parenting classes when Mr. Jennings was present?
No, ma'am.
Were you aware of the move at the time that you were in the therapeutic sessions?
Yes, it was a thought.
Okay, do you think that probably some discussions with the mother, perhaps with Mr. Jennings, would be helpful to reach an agreement for the move to Kansas in the best interest of you and Jazelle?
I do not know.
Okay, would you be willing to have a conversation with her in a therapeutic setting so that we could possibly reach an agreement regarding the move?
Absolutely.
Okay, pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Anyone else have further questions?
Your Honor, can I just have one follow-up thing with Mr. Martinez?
Sure.
Mr. Martinez, your wife's family is from this city in Arkansas, right? I mean,
Yes, ma'am.
Kansas. Sorry.
You're fine. Yes, ma'am. My in-laws reside in Arkansas City, Kansas.
And there are nieces and nephews who are around the same age as Jazelle. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. And she knows those kiddos and she's familiar with them. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So just to follow up with that. That's all I have, Your Honor. I'll pass the witness.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, then. Mr. Martinez, is Jazelle currently seeing a counselor?
She is not. Her counselor no longer takes Medicaid or my insurance. We were referred to a new counselor who we've made like 2 or 3 appointments with. We've made 3 or 4 attempts to contact and received nothing back. So ever since then, we haven't been able to get her a new counselor. No.
Okay. All right. So St. Francis, we need to get on that and get Jazelle a counselor. And then Mr. Martinez, if you will it sounds like she's on board with the move, but I know how 10-year-olds can be. If you get a new counselor, let that counselor tell the counselor about your move to Kansas so that she can be sure that Jazelle's good with it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any further witnesses? All right, then.
Judge, we have no further witnesses. Just wanted to put on record with the court that Michaela Macias would like to discuss the move so that she could potentially gather information and agree. She's not necessarily opposed, Your Honor.
Sure. You want her to discuss it with who? The counselor?
Her and the dad probably just need to have a discussion. They've been released from co-parenting, so it would be my opinion, Your Honor, that this would be a good topic for them to take up together, and just try to communicate between the two of them.
Sure. I think that's the way it should be. So, okay. All right, then. As I said, Mr. Barfield's recommendation was just continue the department as temporary manager, conservator, continue the current placement with Mr. Martinez. Ms. Ledbetter, CASA have anything to add?
We're in agreement with Mr. Barfield. However, we would add that maybe Jazelle and Michaela need to be on a set visitation schedule since they have already had a visit and it did go well. I think that should continue that.
Okay, thank you. Give me just a second.
For the record, Your Honor, the department was not aware that Mr. Martinez was trying to move to Kansas City. We would ask him he keep us in the loop also. St. Francis Missions needs to know those things.
Sure. Okay, I will continue the department as temporary manager and conservator, continue the current placement with Mr. Martinez. I'll order that Ms. Macias, when she visits Jazelle, it be her only, not a lot of other family members. That's never good, I don't think. So, and I will order that St. Francis and or the department establish a set visit schedule for Ms. Macias. I guess you can say I'm going to order. The parents need to talk about this move and be sure that they're on the same page. I hate to start ordering parents to talk to each other, but I shouldn't have to order that. So I'll set a final in this case for May 1st, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of May 1st to see exactly what time we'll have that hearing. Mr. Albie's with us for the department. Ms. Ledbetter is with us for the CASA. Ms. Kincaid is with us representing the child. Ms. Lucero is with us representing the alleged father, Jason Childress, who is not with us. Ms. Tucker, the mother, is with us, and we will wait for Mr. Pirtle a little longer. All right, Mr. Albie?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Pirtle finally joined us, so you can proceed. And I don't know, I may not have announced Mr. Michelson is also with us representing an unknown father. So, all right, Mr. Albie.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would call Ms. Tori Cook. And
Okay.
where is Lesley currently placed?
She's placed in a foster home in Canyon, Texas.
And is that foster home meeting all of her needs at this time?
Yes, sir.
Is she making all of her medical and mental health and counseling appointments?
Yes, sir.
Are there any special needs that have arisen that we need to make the court aware of today?
it was in the court report, but she did need speech therapy, which she is getting through school.
So the school is providing that service for the child.
Yes, sir.
Does she have special meetings that she has to go to that mom or foster mom is having to take her to?
No, it's all done through the school.
Okay. And child's mother is Susan Tucker.
Yes, sir.
And Miss Tucker is currently residing in Oklahoma.
Yes, sir.
And she has been ordered to work services. Has she begun working her services?
Yes, sir. She has finished most of them besides the outpatient program that we've recommended.
And has she started the outpatient program?
Yes, sir. She did her intake. It was kind of hard to find, of course, with her being a resident of Oklahoma. Texas would not complete the OSAR for her, but we have found a program and they're doing their equivalent to an OSAR. And she did her intake. So,
part of the reason that Lesley was removed from Miss Tucker was because of substance abuse.
yes, sir.
And so it's important that she get through this outpatient program before the child is returned to her.
Yes, sir.
Any other services that Miss Tucker is not working that she needs to be working more on?
No, sir.
Because of the nature of the case and the nature of the service that has not been completed, would you agree with me that it would be contrary to Lesley's general welfare to return her to Miss Tucker at this time
Yes, sir.
and unsafe to do so?
Yes, sir.
Child's father has been alleged to be Jason Childers.
Yes, sir.
Have we found Jason Childers?
We have not.
Have we done diligent searches in an attempt to find Jason Childers?
Yes, sir.
Are you therefore, well, because we don't know where he's at and he's an alleged father, you would agree with me that it would be contrary to Lesley's general welfare to return or order that she be returned to him at this time?
Yes, sir.
Are you asking them that the court continue the department as temporary managing conservator?
I am.
Is Miss Tucker exercising visits with Lesley?
Yes.
How often is she exercising visits?
We are doing weekly visits for 3 hours.
And are those in person or virtual?
Those are in person.
And does Miss Tucker take advantage of all of those visitations?
Yes, sir.
And how do those visits go?
Visits have been going well. There were a couple of visits in January that did not go so well, but after St. Francis, both me and the support worker talked with Miss Tucker. Since then, they have returned to going well.
And is Miss Tucker aware of the problems that arose in January and how to alleviate those problems?
Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Cook, the mother's outpatient program, that's also a result of having a recent positive drug test for methamphetamine, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. All right, Mr. Pearl, any questions?
Yes, Judge. Ms. Cook, let me ask you, has my client provided you with her NAAA sign-in sheets?
No, sir.
Okay, have you been asking for those?
I have.
Okay, has she told you that she's been going?
Yes. I know since she's moved, I guess there wasn't one in person that she's gone to, but she has continued to use an app on her phone.
Okay, and what is the current status of the ICPC?
So today we're going to request from the court. We do need a court order for that ICPC home study.
All right, I pass the witness.
Mr. Michelson?
Thank you, Your Honor. I just have a couple questions. Is there any new efforts to identify a potential father?
No new efforts. Just trying to find Mr. Childress.
And there's no acknowledgement of paternity in the Vital Statistics Bureau. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, pass the witness.
All right. Ms. Lucero?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Cook, we had spoken earlier, well, I guess this past week. Would you just let me know if y'all find any type of contact information for Mr. Childress?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kincaid?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Cook, you talked about some issues with visitation. Can you describe those issues?
Yes, it was specifically in one visit in particular. Ms. Tucker was getting a little frustrated with Lesley. There was a little bit of name calling, like calling her a brat, and then she did spank her, which the support worker on that case did let her know that that is not allowed whatsoever and that the visit could be ended. And both the support worker and I have talked to Ms. Tucker about that.
Okay. And part of the reasons for the children's removal was domestic violence. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so do you believe that y'all's efforts to intervene in that matter are going to help Ms. Tucker act appropriately in her interactions with her child?
I do believe so.
Okay. And she's completed a parenting class?
She has.
Okay. She completed that parenting class before the interaction where she spanked her child?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is the child up to date on her medical and dental?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness. Or one final question. Sorry. Is she on any prescription medications?
No, she is not.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Okay. Anyone have further questions for Ms. Cook?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Then Mr. Albee, any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
Thank you. Mr. Pirtle, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor, rest.
Mr. Michelson?
No witnesses, we rest.
Thank you. Ms. Lucero?
No witnesses, Your Honor, I rest.
Thank you. Ms. Kincaid?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Kincaid, recommendations?
Continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the current placement.
Okay. All right. Ms. Ledbetter, CASA have anything to add?
Nothing to add, Your Honor. We're in agreement with that.
Okay. Okay, I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator. I'll continue Leslie's current placement. I note that I did order an ICPC home study on Ms. Tucker at our initial permanency hearing on November 17th, but I will go ahead and order that. I'll put it in this order too. So I will order the ICPC home study on Ms. Tucker.
Your Honor, this ICPC, sorry to interrupt, is actually on a fictive kin.
Oh, okay. Not on mother.
No, yes.
Okay, I need a name then for my records on who we're ordering that on.
Okay, her name is Sherry Maltby.
Okay. All right, then I will order the, I noted last hearing, I think I did order one on the mother, but I will order an ICPC home study on Sherry Maltby. Okay, final hearing will be on May 1st, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of May 1st to see exactly what time we'll have that final hearing. So, okay, we will stand in recess on this case. We're here on a placement review after final order. Ms. Schulte is with us for the department. Mr. Barfield is with us representing the child. And I've got Erica Flores, Monica Olivas in the waiting room. Do we need either or both of them?
Erica Flores is the worker.
All right. I don't know if we should have CASA in this case. Could that be Monica Olivas?
I think it is.
Okay.
Call Erica Flores. Is he 17?
Yes.
When does he turn 18?
July 3rd, 2006.
So July 3rd of this year, he'll turn 18.
Yes.
Where is he placed right now?
He is placed in a foster home with Jimmy and Melissa Lucido.
Is there a notice in on that placement?
Yes, ma'am, there is.
How long is he able to stay in that placement?
It is on March 17th. It would be the last day. We are still currently looking for placement. We have, I am meeting him on Tuesday, and Circle of Support will be FaceTiming him while I am there. And that is going to see if he is planning on leaving after he turns 18 or if he would like to go into supervised independent living or independent living.
Is Juan still in school?
No, he finished his senior year really early. He was having trouble at Canyon High. So he got admitted into Midway there in Canyon. It's like an alternative school. and he finished as of January 8th. He finished high school, so he will be graduating and walking with his class in May.
Is he still currently working?
Yes.
Is he on any psychotropic medications?
Yes, he is on, let me get him. He is on clonidine, hydrochloride, risperidone, and guanfacine.
Are those being regularly reviewed?
Yes, ma'am. He gets medication reviews monthly.
Does he have any concerns about his medication?
No.
Is there anything else that the court needs to know about Juan today? Any other concerns that we have?
He's upset about his birth certificate that he hasn't received yet. I got his case, I believe, in October, and it was, to my knowledge, everything had been submitted. And when Megan Howell from Upbring, his case manager, had taken him to get a report of that, they did not have his name under. So we looked into it further, and I have resent everything for his birth certificate. And I have been calling, and they say that we expedited the service. So it takes 25 to 30 days, and usually it takes 6 to 8 weeks. But they have not inputted his information, but still that process is still going to take, the 25 to 30 days. And I know that he is pretty upset about not receiving his birth certificate yet. So he has been having some outbursts with me, caregivers, Megan Howell. Understandably, he is upset, and I know that he wants to have his birth certificate, and we are trying our best to get those. He has cussed out caregivers along with, Megan Howell and me and CASA, or the previous CASA worker, not the current one.
And is the problems with getting birth certificates and documents something that St. Francis has been experiencing agency-wide?
The name change is a little bit different because usually we have DFPS eligibility officers that are that can get the birth certificates. But a name change, it just takes a little bit of time because we have to send, we had to send in the court report from the judge stating that he needed that. And it's just, unfortunately, it's gone from caseworker to caseworker and things have gotten lost. But I have made sure that I have turned all that information in to get that done. And we expedited the services to get that as soon as possible for Juan.
Is there anything else that the court needs to know or that you're asking the court to order today?
No.
Are you asking that the court approve his current placement and maintain the department as his permanent managing conservator?
Yes.
And that if he does not remain in care after his 18th birthday, the court order a trial independence period for him?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Flores, I read in the report that that he was having outbursts and saying that he feels like no one's helping him. Is that all having to do with this birth certificate issue?
Yes, sir, it is. It's because of the birth certificate issue, and it's understandable. He's about to be 18,
Sure.
And that's something that he really wants. And he does have his Social Security, and I know that, to do the driver's license, we are trying to get his birth certificate to help him with that. I know Megan Howell from Upbring has found a possible way around that by providing, student face sheets from school, Medicaid, IDs, and other things to help with that because this birth certificate is taking a bit.
Okay, so basically he certificate to proceed with a driver's license?
I'm sorry, Judge?
Does he need the birth certificate? You said something about a driver's license. Does he have to have the birth certificate to proceed to try to get a driver's license?
Yes, sir, I believe so. But Megan Howell from Upbring, his case manager, she's found a way around that.
Okay.
So we're just, yes, sir.
Then I can imagine a 17-year-old that can't get his driver's license. That would probably upset any 17-year-old. Would you agree?
Oh, of course, I agree. I mean, we're trying. I've apologized to Juan countless times. I mean, from caseworker to caseworker, it just gets things lost. But I have expedited that. I sent that out on February 22nd, and it got there February 23rd, and it is in the process.
Okay, thank you for that. And I read in the report that he had said he has no plans to enter extended care, that he planned to move to Killeen with some relatives, a grandmother, brother, and his terminated biological father. Is that still what he's saying he's going to do?
Yes, that's what he plans to do. I am meeting with him on Tuesday, and Circle of Support, Nicole Carr, will be FaceTiming him from there. And that's just to give him some extra help regarding, if he wants to go into supervised independent living or independent living, to keep him here and, get to school and stuff like that. But as far as we know, I know it is in Juan's interest that he does want to move to Killeen with his grandmother.
Okay.
And brother and dad. Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I've got to take this call real quick. I will be right back. Okay, I apologize for that. Now I don't remember where we were. Amy?
You were talking to the worker, Judge.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think I've got everything I needed. So does anybody else have questions for Ms. Flores? No? Ms. Schulte, anything else from the department?
No, Judge.
All right. So, do you have any witnesses?
Do I have any witnesses, Judge? I do
Correct.
not have any witnesses, just a recommendation.
All right, go ahead with your recommendation.
Your Honor, obviously, last time I spoke with Juan, the birth certificate issue is because he's working and it's making it very difficult. Sounds like Ms. Flores is on the ball trying to get that done. That's been going on for over a year now. But I'm not, doesn't do any good to complain about it. It just needs to be fixed. He is, like I say, notice was given. I recommend that he remain in placement and that for the time being, I think Juan's going to want it just for the court certification. Based on my conversations, I think this kid wants to turn 18, get his driver's license, and go on with his life, if you want to know the truth. And so my recommendation is what it is today.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. And then Ms. Olivas, Casa, have anything to add?
We could recommend for him to stay with placement also.
Okay. All right then. Okay, then I will continue the department as permanent manager conservator, continue Juan's current placement, knowing that's going to change on the 17th or by the 17th of this month. And if Juan chooses, when he turns 18, if he chooses not to stay in extended care, then I will approve the trial independence period for him. Okay, just in case we need it, I'll set the next review hearing for August 30th, 2024. If we do have that hearing, it will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance to see exactly what time. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Casa is with us today, and Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. I have Christina Hunter in the waiting room.
That's my caseworker on this one, Your Honor. Okay, and did you file a court report on February 26th of 2024?
I did.
Your Honor, we ask that the court take judicial notice of that court report.
All right, so noted, and I have read that report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Christina, where is Aaron currently placed?
He's currently placed in a foster home here in Canyon.
And that was a foster to adopt placement that started this past July, is that correct?
That is correct.
And has that been somewhat of a bumpy ride for the family?
It has, yes.
Okay. And they had previously given a discharge notice and then canceled it, correct?
There was a notice that was given in December and then it was retracted. And then there has also been a new discharge notice that was recently put in as well.
Okay. So the new discharge notice, what is, how many days notice are they giving on that?
It's a 30-day discharge notice. He has to be in his new placement by April the 3rd.
Now, can you please explain to the court what has been going on that triggered the discharge notice?
So Aaron's always had a bit of a rough time with controlling his anger. And whenever he was placed in this home, they were well aware of the behaviors that he had came with. They had actually improved for quite some time. His aggression had lessened, both verbally and physically. He had only been in, I believe, 2 altercations. One, he pushed his foster brother, and another one, he had punched another student in school. Outside of that, he had actually decreased in a lot of the behaviors. As of lately, I would say probably since end of December, They have increased at school and at home. He's been in regular trouble at school, getting lunch detentions, ISSs. He actually recently just got assigned 10 days of ISS. Basically, it's almost like they're kind of choosing not to send him to Midway for the DAEP. They're trying to have him do those days at the school in order to lessen the changes for him.
Okay. Is the child receiving special education services?
Yes.
And is he also receiving 504 accommodations?
Yes.
Now, have there also been instances of him being on inappropriate websites using the school's Chromebook?
Yes.
Alrighty. Is his medical exam up to date?
Yes.
Is his dental exam up to date?
Yes.
And what kind of therapy is he receiving?
He currently receives CBT therapy through behaviour, and that is weekly.
Okay. And have there been any more recent instances of aggression in the home?
Yes, actually, there was one that occurred last night.
And what occurred last night?
He was not wanting to do his chores. So they have an allowance system based upon that he does X amount of chores, he gets X amount of dollars for his allowance. And his chore was to do the dishes. He didn't want to do the dishes, but he wanted to get paid. And so foster mom tried to de-escalate the situation, asked him to kind of step away because he was banging the dishes pretty hard. He refused to step away. At one point, he rode off from on his bike to go to the Lesley to go see his foster dad. Came back pretty quickly. By the time foster mom had called Bear and was gathering her stuff to go follow him, he was already back at the house. And then it continued to escalate with verbal aggression as well as property damage. Law enforcement was called last night, but by the time law enforcement and Bear actually showed up on the premise, he was already calmed down at that point. So he was not arrested or anything of that magnitude, but after that, he had a bit of a peaceful evening, according to foster mom. And then this morning, he's been in a good mood this morning.
I'm sorry, Teresa, can I just ask, are you saying Bear?
Bear, yes. BAIR. It's the child placing agency.
Okay. And for the record's clarification, what is Bear?
They're the child placing agency that the home is licensed under.
So if some incident happens in the home, like the child running away, is the foster family required to report that to Bear?
Yes.
Okay. Now he's also receiving psychotropic medication. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is the list in your court report updated?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, we asked for the court to take judicial notice of that list on page 7 of the court report.
All right, so noted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, what type of placement is St. Francis looking for when this discharge notice comes?
We always try to locate the least restrictive setting that is possible for him. However, based upon his behaviors and my experience, he will most likely end up on either a residential treatment center, unfortunately, again, and if possible, a therapeutic foster home.
Now, going back to the psychotropic medications, has placement been providing the child psychotropic medications as prescribed?
There was a recent audit that was done that found that there were some medication errors. But to my knowledge, up until that point, I do believe that they were. But there's been a plan put in place to ensure that moving forward, that things are going to be a lot more tightly monitored.
Can you elaborate a little bit on whether or not these medication errors affected the psychotropic medications that were prescribed for Aaron?
Are you asking, like, did the mess on the medication mess with the behaviors?
No, I'm asking if the medication errors that you described, were any of them on the medications for Aaron?
Yes.
Okay. And how long had these errors been going on for, to your knowledge?
That's hard. It's hard to tell, quite honestly, because the MARS, which are the medication administration records that the foster family has to document on, they weren't being documented on there correctly. On one of them, the medication was not started until the 19th, but she was documenting it on the 1st. And so it's a lot of messed up, cumbersome type things.
Do you think that if the child hypothetically were not receiving his medications as prescribed, that would affect the change of behavior that he's displaying?
There is a possibility, yes.
Has St. Francis had an opportunity to see what RTCs or therapeutic homes are available for the child?
That is still currently ongoing. Our placement team is still actively looking to locate his next placement at this point.
And is his current placement, is it meeting all his needs?
Yes.
And can you explain, is this just a regular adoptive placement, a regular foster home, or was it a therapeutic foster home?
It is a therapy. They are licensed underneath the therapeutic foster home.
Okay. And is that the least restrictive environment for the child considering his needs?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Hunter, are there any hopes that this foster to adopt might retract again, or you feel like they're done?
They, at this point, it's not safe. They don't feel like that it's safe for themselves or their children, their biological children that they have in the home. Aaron's aggressive, especially with the foster mom. And so they still would like to continue to have a relationship with them because that bond is built with them. Like he does call them mom and dad. It's not certain as to.
Now you're not.
Okay. They're not certain whether or not they'll allow him to come back home once he, completes a program, kind of levels down a little bit.
Okay. All right. And is Dr. Mendoza still administering his psychotropics?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right then, Mr. Ingram.
Has Aaron been told about the move yet?
No, he has not. The plan is that he is to be told in a therapeutic setting with his therapist.
And who is his current therapist?
Her name is Alex. And she's the licensed therapist with Bear.
Okay. Have you had a conversation with her or emails or anything to prepare this conversation with Aaron?
I've had a conversation with their director as well as their clinical director, who is Alex's supervisor.
Okay, that's witness.
Okay. Anything further for Ms. Hunter?
And yes, Your Honor, one more question. Christina, is a psychiatrist reviewing those psychotropic medications at least every 30 days?
Yes.
And has Aaron expressed any opinion on his medications?
Every month when I speak with him about his medications, he says that he feels like they're okay. I ask if it feels like he says, I don't know, ask my mom. But he has not indicated to me any issues or troubles that he's having.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, the department rests.
All right, Mr. Ingram, any witnesses?
No witnesses.
All right, Mr. Ingram, recommendation.
Continue department as permanent managing conservator. I guess continue placement until new placement's found.
Okay. All right, and Casa, anything to add?
Don't really have anything else to add. I'm the same as Christina, that it's kind of been up and down the whole time that he's been here, and he'll do good for a little bit and then just kind of go back down, but nothing else really to add.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Well, sorry to hear about the discharge notice. Maybe they'll accept him back at a later date. So, okay, then I will continue the department as permanent managing conservator, continue his current placement now, knowing that there's going to have to be a move in early April. So I'll set the next scheduled review hearing for August 26th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance to see what time we'll have that hearing. If anything comes up before then, just someone notify my office and we can set a hearing on whatever might come up. So, all right.
If you don't mind, Your Honor, I apologize. There was a notice that I applied to the court about him possibly going to Colorado. They're not going to be going to Colorado over spring break either anymore. I just want to make sure people are aware.
Okay, thank you. All right, then. This was our last hearing of the day, so we will stand in recess. Everyone have a good weekend.